Future MCU villains who will be stronger than Thanos. Thanos established himself to be the biggest threat the Avengers ever faced. They assembled and managed to beat Loki. They effectively took down Ultron, but Thanos? He was the only one who actually won. He proved to be almost unbeatable even without the Infinity Stones. But now that the power levels of individual heroes like Scarlet Witch and Captain Marvel are even bigger than Thanos, the MCU is going to need much stronger, unique, and proficient villains. And we're getting exactly what the Doctor ordered. Here are all the incoming villains that could prove to be stronger than Thanos. The Celestials. Everyone thinks that the Deviants are going to be the main villains of Eternals, but that might not be the case. Marvel could pull off a similar move as they did in Captain Marvel. Like the Skrulls, the Deviants could also be the victims, while the Celestials may be the real villains that the Eternals would have to take on. We already saw how strong Esson the Searcher was in Guardians of the Galaxy. Then, Ego almost converted all the planets of the universe into himself. Imagine if more than a dozen Celestials who are just as powerful show up to pass their judgment upon the humankind on Earth. Their threat will certainly be far greater than Thanos, as they are actually unbeatable.
In the future,
Kang the
there
Conqueror.
are no worlds left for me to conquer.
Kang will be an even greater menace than Thanos because he has the potential to threaten the entire multiverse in the MCU. Physically, he may not be as strong, but his futuristic technology gives him an evolutionary advantage over any other villain. After conquering everything in the future, he traveled to different timelines of the past and started conquering them. So the entire multiverse will be under attack if he pulls off such a move in the MCU. Let's wait and see how Jonathan Majors performs as Kang when he arrives in Ant-Man and the Wasp 3. Michael Korvac.
I'm never going to let them hurt me again.
It is more or less confirmed that Michael Korvac will be the villain of Captain Marvel 2. In the first Captain Marvel movie, none of the villains presented a physical threat to her. Jan Rogue was too weak and there was no final battle whatsoever. It was a unique move, but Marvel needs a strong antagonist now. In Avengers Endgame, even Thanos almost fell against her. If it wasn't for the Infinity Stones, Captain Marvel would have taken down Thanos with ease. But Michael Korvac could be someone who could physically threaten her. He is a time-traveling, half-human, half-futuristic computer. He has godlike matter-altering abilities which were granted to him by the power cosmic. If he is to have a bigger presence in Phase 5, then we believe that he and Kang might actually team up. And that way, the Avengers will be doomed way before Doctor Doom even shows up. Dormammu. Doctor Strange was able to bend a powerful villain like Dormammu to his will. But he did that with the help of the Time Stone. Now that the Time Stone and all other Infinity Stones have been reduced to atoms, Dormammu's threat certainly looms over Earth once again. And this time, we might just end up seeing his omnipotent abilities in a much better way. Annihilus.
Destroy anything in your path!
The Fantastic Four are coming and they might get to take on a villain like Annihilus in their very first movie. He originated as a prisoner of the Negative Zone, and then became a major threat when he escaped. In the books, he was an ally to Thanos, but in the MCU, he could prove to be much stronger with his annihilation wave. Galactus.
The devourer of worlds, tremble at the might of Galactus!
The devourer of planets, Galactus, will surely arrive in the MCU sooner or later. He could be introduced as an incoming threat at the end of Avengers 5. He consumes planets on a regular basis, as that's what sustains his life force. So whenever and wherever he arrives, he'd prove to be a much bigger threat than any other villain ever. Adam Warlock.
You can't hurt me.
Adam Warlock will ultimately be turned into a hero, but his debut in the MCU will be as a villain. His arrival was teased back in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and by now, he will have grown even tougher than Thanos. It will be interesting to see how the Guardians will take on a massive force like him when they struggled so much against Thanos. There are other powerful villains like the Beyonder, the Phoenix Force, and several others who are stronger than Thanos. but we're not sure if they will show up in the MCU, so they weren't mentioned in the list.